The world's a dangerous place. Get the industry's original and most trusted laser sighting system from Crimson Trace. A laser and light systems will enhance your effectiveness and help keep you and your family out of harm's way.
Today on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, the latest thriller from author Brad Thor, a shooting camp for couples, and more. Got something to say? Call Tom at 866-TALK-GUN. Now, here's Tom Gresham.
All righty, a little bit of patriotic type music for you. It's the 4th of July weekend. Hope you had a safe and happy 4th of July. Spent it with the family with any luck at all. I certainly did. We had a couple of dozen people over for the 4th, family and friends. Had a great time. Lots of interesting conversations, and everybody turned out safe. So that's really what it's about. We'll be talking a little bit more about what the 4th of July is about as we go through the show today. And we'd love to have you call in, help us out with your calls, comments, questions, and, of course, range reports. Well, I'll have a few of those that people have sent in. Some are pretty funny, actually. We'll have a lot of things going on. Now, if you know me at all, you know how much I love good books. And so there's a brand new one coming out Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. And so a few days ago, I had a chance to talk with who has become, frankly, my favorite author, Brad Thor. Here's that interview. Everybody knows one of the things I love to do is read. I'm just a voracious reader, and I love it when I find an author that you can really enjoy. Unfortunately, some of the thriller novels that I enjoy, the authors just don't get guns right. Well, one of the guys who does that very well is Brad Thor. He joins me now to talk about his brand new book, Code of Conduct. Brad, I just finished this thing. This is a home run, man.
You know what? I can't thank you enough for saying that, Tom. I said, I'm the beach read guy, the toes in the sand, book in the hand. I do thrillers, but I'm a small businessman too, and I'm constantly trying to make my product better. And I set the bar very high with this one. And my wife is the first person to read my books, and she came out and said, out of her office when she read it, she just said, "It's the best one you've ever written." She loves it. So that's very nice to hear you've enjoyed it too. And was it Clark Aposhin who originally introduced the two of us?
Exactly correct. That's very good memory.
And you were the one that corrected me, and I never made the mistake again about using the leftist term assault rifle.
Ah.
In our very first interview,
yeah.
You corrected me. I call it a tactical rifle, battle rifle. I never used it again. Thank you for that.
Well, as a reader, a book author myself, editor of hundreds of writers through the years, one of the things I noticed is that some authors seem to run out of steam, and honestly, yours just get better and better. And as I'm reading yours, I'm noticing you're really working on your craft. You're serious about that.
I am, and thank you for noticing that, because I really tried to make the characters deeper and richer this time, and I even changed up a little bit of how I do it. Sometimes I'll have 3 distinct plot lines running through the book, and this one, I kind of focused on 2 major areas, 2 sets of characters, and I think it paid off very, very well. And then, of course, my favorite thing that I know we'll end up talking about is all the weapons in the books, which, interestingly enough, has now become an article I do every year with the NRA's Shooting Illustrated. So that's become we started it last year. I've done another one this year. It'll be out in the September issue. But it's fun for me to talk about what I did during the year, what new weapons I tried, because I like, unless it's bolted to an aircraft of some kind, I normally shoot everything that's in the book.
Well, heck, I wouldn't let that stop you. We can make some arrangements. We'll get you up in the air.
Well, that would be a lot of fun. There's nothing. And my little boy is fascinated with miniguns now, and he builds Black Hawk helicopters out of Legos.
Oh, my gosh.
I'd have to take him with me.
But let's talk guns for a second. 'Cause my question to you is, how did you get into guns in the first place?
Well, it's interesting. So my dad is a no longer active Marine. So we have a gun culture in my house growing up. Funny story about my dad. My dad hadn't been shooting anything other than shotguns in a long time, and I took him out to the range a couple of autumns ago, and I handed him a Glock. Mm-hmm. And boy, he didn't like it. He was not hitting where he wanted to hit on the target, and I pulled out a 1911, and boy, it all came back for him. He really knew that weapon, and he described his training in the Marine Corps and how much dry firing they did before they ever got issued any ammunition. So I grew up hearing about weapons and all that kind of stuff, but I grew up in Chicago, which is not a very gun-friendly environment. And then I moved to Utah when my wife and I got married, and she was a doc for the U.S. ski team, and I was around other gun owners. And that's what really changed it for me. And one of my biggest crusade's the wrong word, but one of my biggest callings, I feel, is to encourage gun owners to find and convert at least one non-gun owner a year. I think this country is not raising enough gun owners, so we need to be out there getting people involved with shooting. We need them to know how to safely handle a weapon. I always encourage people. People come up on Twitter all the time, Tom, and say, "What kind of gun should I get?" And it's like, "Well, what woman should you marry?" How do I tell you? You got to go to a range that has a wide variety of weapons that you can fire, and you need to link up with an NRA-approved instructor who can help you figure out firearms and the one that's best for you. So, but moving to Utah, to circle all the way back to your question, is what really did it for me, being around men and women who didn't fear firearms but loved them, and then that seeped into my bones.
And now you've moved to the great state of Tennessee, where you can spread out, you got some room for your family, you can do some shooting and have a bunch of fun.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, and I'm raising my children. We just did with my son, who's 10, we just did the NRA's BB gun league over the winter. It was every Tuesday night for 5 weeks with other parents and their children, and we learned 4 different stances, and I had a competition each night, and I'm proud to say that my son and I, on the 5th week, when it was competing in each stance, we took first place. And his teacher calls him Sniper at school, something you never would have heard in Chicago.
No kidding. That would get you kicked out of school in Chicago.
You betcha.
Well, that is wonderful. So, all right, Code of Conduct is a just terrific book. It's as all of yours are, it's a fast read. Basically, we've got your hero, Scott Harvath. And he is once again saving the world, which is kind of what he does, but he is a shooter. He's a good guy, with a heart, but he doesn't mind taking care of the bad guys. And one of the things that I notice about you is that you do not shy away from speaking out on issues, and you tend to take a conservative bent on it. It's kind of it's not so much conservative as it is just suck it up, do the right thing kind of attitude. How did you get to where you feel like you can just do that? You don't worry about somebody taking issue with that.
Well, I think the publisher would rather I just write my books and keep my mouth shut.
Exactly.
But, Tom, I really believe that you and I don't own America. We are stewards of this republic, and it is our duty to hand a freer, more prosperous, more secure nation to the next generation who will be stewards of this country. So there is the 1980s. I'm going to knock some listeners here, I know, but fathers in particular in the 1980s, the go-go 1980s, where there was a lot of prosperity in the country, and that's a great thing. But in the 1980s, we seemed to stop raising men in particular in this country, and there is a Latin term called virile agitur, which is doing the manly thing, which means doing the right thing. And I know you've got a lot of female listeners, and I'm sure they will agree that we seem to have less manly men. It doesn't mean, macho and it's my way or the highway. It means standing up and doing the right thing. So I got concerned saying, I'm watching the way the country's going. There's a sociologist out of Harvard named Putnam wrote a very interesting, lengthy tome called Bowling Alone. And there's a question I like to ask people at cocktail parties and dinner parties. What do you think the invention of the 20th century is that most served to isolate us from each other? People will say TV, they'll say the internet. And then I say, what it actually is air conditioning, because we now stay inside. We don't sit on the front steps and catch a breeze and talk to the neighbors as they go past. We don't even know who the neighbors are anymore. In this country, we used to have shame. We used to say, what will the neighbors think? And that pumped the brakes on our behavior, and we don't do that. So for me, before I'm an author, and I love being an author, I love entertaining people with my fiction, but I'm a steward of this republic. I'm an American. I have achieved great, great things in this country because of what it represents and stands for. So therefore, I feel it incumbent upon me to be a voice out there. And yes, I'm a conservative guy, and there aren't a lot of us in pop culture. So it's hard, and that's why I so appreciate audiences like yours and the people who buy my books, because that's how I feed my family and keep my voice going, is by selling my thrillers.
Well, and it's an important voice. Obviously, the book comes out.
It'll be out Tuesday. So it's Tuesday, July 7th. Code of Conduct will be in stores. But while people are listening to this, one of the biggest helps people can do is to pre-order the book. I've got it's at my website, bradthor.com, or Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you go. Because when you pre-order it, that counts as the very first day of sales. And I guarantee you, Tom, it drives the New York Times crazy to see my name and have to put me on the list. And there's a lot of us on our side that think they jigger the numbers a little bit. But when it's overwhelming and they can't ignore it, when, so many people have ordered the book, they have to do it. And I kind of like putting that, that prison knife in and snapping the handle off on them.
So it's a twofer. We get to read a great book that gets guns right, and we get to tick off the New York Times. So that's really a win.
Everybody wins on that one except the New York Times.
I love it. Well, Brad, what's next for you?
Well, I am going to, this is great. I have been invited to fly with the Blue Angels in August. It is a dream come true. So I know I'm not supposed to eat a heavy breakfast that morning. So I'm going to go down to Pensacola in August. I'm going to fly with the Blue Angels. And then I'll be back in Nashville working on next summer's thriller.
That's terrific. Well, I got to do one of my bucket list things. You may not know that I'm a pilot. I got to fly a P-51 Mustang.
Oh, wow.
So that is just
aircraft.
Just so much fun. So I envy you so much, my friend, for doing the Blue Angels deal. You're going to have such a ball.
We're gonna put GoPro cameras in the cockpit and all that kind of stuff. So at some point after the flight, I'm gonna post a video of it. So I'll let you know when that comes out. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
We'll do it. Well, look, keep us posted on what you're up to, and if ever we can help with anything, just pick up the phone, man.
You're awesome, Tom, and so is your audience, and just thrilled to have been able to spend this time with you today. Thank you. Code of Conduct
is, I got to tell you, I think it's the best thing you've done so far.
Wow, I'm honored. You and my wife, that's 2 big boxes checked. So I'm thrilled to hear that.
There's a rise in home invasions in America, and you need to be ready. Ready to protect yourself and your family. The bedside backup from Crossbreed Holsters keeps your gun at your bedside, ready to go. It also folds flat for easy storage and travel. Take it with you and use with any hotel bed. To see more, go to crossbreedholsters.com. That's crossbreedholsters.com. The bedside backup is not a child safety device.
You're at a gun store and your phone tells you about hot deals. Want to know about special offers? No problem when you have GunDealio, the free app for your smartphone. GunDealio delivers the latest deals on guns, ammo, and extras direct to your phone. Don't overpay for your shooting gear. Get GunDealio. It's free at the App Store and Google Play. Trigger the deals with GunDealio. GunDealio.com.
Experts agree that the low-range variable rifle scope is best for most situations. Now, Trijicon offers a stunning 1-to-6 power variable in the AccuPoint line. Featuring a battery-free illuminated reticle, superior glass clarity, and rugged construction, it's the one scope you need for hunting and competition. Long eye relief, aircraft-grade aluminum housing, manual brightness override. See the 1-to-6 power AccuPoint at Trijicon.com. Trijicon.com.
Who will you trust with your guns and valuables? Liberty safes are the best built and most secure safes on the planet. They sell more gun safes than any other brand. It's about trust earned through performance. If your Liberty safe is damaged by fire or attempted break-in, they'll send a new safe right to your home. Protection from thieves and fire. Trust the #1 maker of quality gun safes. LibertySafe.com.
Back with you here. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident. that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to serve each other, our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. To me, that is the most significant document in the history of this country, the Declaration of Independence. Unfortunately, most people having hot dogs and burgers yesterday, this weekend, don't understand that July 4th, the 4th of July, is a celebration of the Declaration of Independence. It was signed on July 2, went into effect July 4, 1776. If you have not read it ever, or if you have not read it recently, I highly recommend. Primarily written by Thomas Jefferson. It's an incredible piece of writing. It is also a suicide pact. It is a document that tells their government, the British government, that had control over them, that had soldiers stationed around the colonies, that had soldiers living in the homes of the colonists. It said, we reject you. We hereby serve notice that this is a revolution, and we understand that you plan to kill us as a result of this, and yet we still say that we're doing this, and here is who we are, and we sign our names to this. No screen names, they're real names. If that isn't gutsy, I don't know what is. If we don't owe them our eternal thanks, I don't know to whom we should be offering thanks for this country. Amazing, amazing people. Our number here, 866-TALK-GUN, 866-825-5486. You can, of course, join me. You can shoot me an email, tom@guntalk.com. We got a lot of great guests coming up. Brad Thor was a ton of fun to talk with. Man, I'm telling you, you got to get that book. It's pretty cool. Code of Conduct. Rick is on line 3 out of Houston, Texas. Rick, what's on your mind?
Hi. I bought a 9mm shield, the Smith & Wesson shield, about a year ago, and immediately began accumulating 9mm ammunition for it, and didn't find out until I had accumulated some of this stuff that there is a difference between 9mm rounds. They're not all equal. And I've accumulated 4 different types. I feel very confident about 3 of them. But the 4th one, I'm not sure I should shoot it in that gun without damaging it. Can I describe the 4 different types?
Well, just tell me about the one you're concerned about.
The one I'm concerned about is the 9mm NATO.
Is military surplus?
No, it's brand new Winchester rounds. I bought them online, and I didn't discover until after I received them that the NATO designation it refers to the pressure rating on the ammunition. It's not just a marketing term. I thought it was just a marketing term of some sort.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a little higher pressure. Have you shot any of it? I guess is the first question.
No, have not.
Okay. Here's my thoughts on it, okay? I have some surplus 9mm ammo. It is hotter than regular 9mm ammo, in my opinion. I haven't measured it or anything. It just feels hotter to me. At the same time, I shoot it and don't worry about it. I guess I should add, don't worry about what people say on the internet, because you'll hear anything and everything, and everybody's an expert there. If you are truly concerned about it, I would maybe call Smith & Wesson and ask them, what do you think? If they say don't shoot it, that's your call. It's still your call whether to shoot it or not. If it were me, I would just shoot. How much do you have of the NATO ammo?
300 rounds.
That's not all that much. If it's me, I'd shoot it. But you know what? If you want to be super safe, sell it to somebody. But I personally don't think there's going to be an issue. The Shield's a very well put together gun. I don't think you're going to have a problem there. What you ought to do is go out and shoot all your different ammo and see if you can even tell any difference when you shoot the NATO rounds. Generally, they are a little bit hotter, but I don't know. What I don't know is if it's still within the SAMI specs, Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturers Institute. That's the organization that sets out pressure limits for cartridges. I don't know if this 9mm NATO falls within that. But again, like I say, if it's me, I would shoot it. But then again, there you go. Well, look, let me ask you, how do you like your Shield?
Love it. Love it.
Isn't
Absolutely
that a wonderful
love
pistol?
Yes, it is.
It's a great pistol.
My wife enjoyed shooting it so much that I had to take her 380 and trade it in on a 9mm because she liked it so much better.
Well, at least she didn't just take it away from you. I've heard of that happening, too. People said, yeah, I let my wife shoot my gun. Now I don't have it anymore. Well, okay, there you go. That can happen also. Look, I appreciate the call, sir. Thank you very much. I had an interesting thing. A guy writes me and he says, I'm thinking about two different guns, a Ruger LCP and a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard. And what do you think? And it's one of those deals of, I don't know. It's just personal preference. They're both excellent, really good companies. They make good stuff. One's a little bigger than the other. Lay one next to the other, see what you think. You're going to carry it. One's a little heavier. One's, whatever. And it's funny. He came back. He said, well, I looked at the specs again. And I saw that there was like 6 ounces of difference. And then I looked at I don't know if this actually equates to weight. I think it may be volume. But I looked at a tube of toothpaste, and it was 6 ounces. So I stuck a tube of toothpaste in my jeans pocket, and I walked around with it for a little while. It didn't seem like it was too much, so I bought the heavier one. Okay, whatever. We do all sorts of weird things sometimes when we're trying to figure out which one to get. Of course, my solution, you know what my solution is, right? Of course you do. Buy both of them. If I like them both, why not get them back? Both. That'll work for you also. Now, our number is 866-TALK-GUN. That'll get you in. We have a number of guests lined up today. There's going to be some interesting conversations, but we're going to have room for you, absolutely. We'll talk about that. I also want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the media. There's a very subtle anti-gun bias going on, the way they phrase things, and it's all designed to subtly shift public opinion away from gun rights. We'll be right back.
You're listening to a special 4th of July weekend edition of Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, the #1 national voice in defense of your Second Amendment rights. To be on the air with Tom, call us now, 866-825-5486 or 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Now, here's Tom.
Oh, so glad that you could be with us. Couple of things that popped up in the news this week. One was a video that's starting to make its way around. It's actually a video, 2 videos, if you will, from it's a body cam video from 2 officers in Texas, a man and a woman, officers, and they're in an Applebee's, and they go into the bathroom. There's a guy in the bathroom. They need to get out of the restaurant. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If you've not, you need to find it because it's incredibly instructive of at least 3 things, and I'll address those in just a second. But what you see is they go in, he's trying to play dumb. They say, don't play dumb. You know what we're here for you. So they're escorting him through the Applebee's, one in front, one in back, just letting him walk out. And in the process, the lead officer, the man, reaches over and subtly pushes one of those setups, a knife and fork setup, away so the guy can't get it. And thinking, oh, that was interesting. Then they go outside, and then this guy that they're escorting out there reaches into his pants and pulls out what appears to be a Beretta 92. As it turned out, it was a BB gun. Dumb is as dumb does. But what follows, looking at the video, is very interesting. There are some real lessons to be learned. One is that when you make the decision, you got to make the decision, you got to move fast because it happens so very fast. 2 would be when it's time to shoot the bad guy, you shoot him till the threat's over, and you'll see that how many rounds the two officers fired. And they did a very good job. And 3, most interesting, I did not know, I'm not sure which department they're with, they both had lights and lasers on their handguns. And you have a strobing white light and a solid laser, and you see that in the video, and you're going, wow, that's very interesting how easy, or how much easier, I would say, that made it all happen, because you're in low light. Maybe you see the sights, maybe you don't. In this case, your eyes are on the threat, and you put the laser dot on the threat, and then you address the threat. If you can find that, I call it to your attention. It's very worthwhile. Shooting better is always a good thing. Our next guest here is a guy that, man, does he know how to shoot. Blake Miguez is, you've seen him on Top Shot on History Channel. What you may not know is he's actually a legislator in the Louisiana legislature, and just got put in a bill and got it passed where we can have gun safety instruction in elementary schools in Louisiana. Let's welcome Blake at this point. Hey, Blake, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I am good. I'm so glad to have you here. I know that we have mutual friends, at least in the case of Chris Sereno.
Yes, and also one of my good friends, Max Michel. I know he's been on the show a few times with you guys.
Yeah, he's a rotten guy. I hate Max. I don't like to talk to him at all.
I've done a lot of shooting. Max and I actually grew up together, started shooting together at the age of 12, I believe.
Yeah, you started shooting competitively. Now, talk about two guys blowing it out. And imagine these two young guns, literally, in Louisiana, shooting against each other as you guys were growing up and vying for the state championship. And now you, of course, shoot on the national stage and world stage. But let's talk for a second about this bill that passed, now becomes law in Louisiana. What does this do?
Yes, that's my bill, HB 446, and what it does is it allows the local public school systems to teach age-appropriate accident prevention and gun safety in regards to firearms and the dangers related to firearms. And the most important thing about the bill is it doesn't infringe on our Second Amendment rights, our freedom to bear arms. And one of the programs that's actually listed in the bill is the NRA's Eddie Eagle program, which teaches some basic principles. 4 things. If a child were to run across a gun, and you know the curiosity of a child, if he runs across a gun, maybe there's a gun underneath a park bench, or maybe they're at a friend's house and they find one in a drawer, he remembers to first stop, don't touch, run away, and then call an adult. It basically just teaches children to not handle any firearms without a parent or an adult present. And right. The reason I brought the bill is it's obvious. It's to save children's lives in the state of Louisiana. And I had read an article in The Advocate before I started my first session, which had a headline that said, there are more gun deaths in the state of Louisiana than motorist deaths. And it looked like an anti-gun article. So I'm interested. I flipped the page, read through. And when you read through it, it really wasn't. There's recent legislation over the past 10 years that have made our roads safer. And we can say a lot of examples of that through your DWI laws and other laws that made our roads safer. And I figured, we need some legislation that's pro-gun, that doesn't infringe on our Second Amendment, that lowers the gun deaths and injuries in the state of Louisiana. And this is what this bill aims to do.
So schools, cities, parishes can now teach, they're not prohibited from teaching gun safety. I notice it says age appropriate, and I know that there was an attempt to put in wording where no guns could be used in this. And of course, we know the Eddie Eagle program specifically prohibits having guns there. But as you move into older children in school, I'm thinking this also makes it possible to teach safe gun handling. Would that be right?
Well, it wasn't so much focused on gun handling. It's mainly focused on just accident prevention, getting children not to touch firearms and to be able to identify the difference between a real and a fake firearm. And through the process, when that language got taken out, because in the NRA program, you said correctly, doesn't show the handling of any firearms. And it's a very non-biased program. If you notice, my bill also says that no one shall make any value judgments on firearms, whether for or against, when they're teaching a curriculum. But the main guts of this bill is for child safety and accident prevention. And when we got the bill through the House side, got over to the Senate, there was another program. It's listed in the bill, the Louisiana Law Enforcement Safety Program. And that program integrates the Eddie Eagle program, but it goes a step further. Like I mentioned before, it shows the difference between real guns and fake guns, and then it shows the destruction power of a firearm. I think they simulate in a controlled environment blowing up a watermelon with a I think a 357 exploding. That way it shows the children the destructive power of a firearm.
Right.
And mainly, my whole deal is not necessarily how to handle a firearm. I think that should be left up to the parents. This is just to put everyone on an equal playing field. In my family, obviously, I've grown up competitive shooting. I'm a hunter. We shoot a lot of recreational shooting before I got into competitive shooting. And in my present household now, with my children, I teach gun safety myself, and I'm okay with my children going to the shooting range and shooting guns. But some families have made a decision that they don't want their children around firearms, and we're just trying to level the playing field, give them the basic education that if that child were to come to my house, for example, and somehow run across a firearm, they would know how to handle themselves. Just don't touch the gun.
The whole deal is, Blake, I call Eddie Eagle a gun avoidance program, and I think it's an excellent. They put 20 million kids through the Eddie Eagle program. I do want to get this out. I want people to understand a little bit about the Louisiana legislature. This bill passed by 94-3 in the House and 38-1 in the Senate. I mean, you talk about overwhelmed. You couldn't get that many people to agree that the sun comes up in the east. That was amazing.
But believe me, it didn't. I was on the floor. I did take some flack over this bill. I had one legislator that, I think I sat on the floor for 30 minutes answering questions of hers. Basically, she was against the bill. She didn't. Let me
guess. Without knowing, let me guess. Barbara Norton.
Yes, that was a lucky guess there. She was.
No, I just know the players out there, and she never met a gun ban she didn't like, and wouldn't even support a gun safety program if she found one. Blake, listen, I got to run to the break here, but I want to thank you for what you've been doing. That is wonderful. Keep doing more of this, would you?
Yeah, well, that's just my first session. There's more to come.
All right, sounds good. We're going to get you back on. We've got a little more time, and we'll find out what else you're doing. That's Blake Miguez, of course, top shooter out there, but also a Louisiana legislator introducing gun safety bills in. That's a great, great move. All right, open lines now, 866-TALK-GUN.
The XDM 3.8 Compact from Springfield Armory is 2 guns in 1. Use as your concealed carry gun with a compact magazine and use the extended magazine for home defense. Carry 13 rounds of 9mm in the compact magazine and a whopping 19 rounds in the extended magazine. To see the entire family of Springfield Armory XDM pistols, go to SpringfieldArmory.com. That's SpringfieldArmory.com.
For 36 years, the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance has been fighting to protect hunting, fishing, and trapping for sportsmen from coast to coast. Today, we are under constant attack from extremist animal rights groups who want to end your ability to hunt in the U.S. Join us to protect our sporting heritage and our way of life outdoors. To join or for more information on how you can help, go to ussportsman.org. That's ussportsman.org.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
Black Hills. There's nothing like it on Earth. The kind of place where characters become legends. Wild Bill Hickok, Crazy Horse, Calamity Jane. Pick any part of the world and you'll find people go there to make it their own. But this is where people come to get made. This is the place that made the people who make the best ammo on Earth. Black Hills Ammunition.
I just heard the spot for Black Hills Ammo. I'll actually be out there tomorrow. Tuesday, Wednesday, we're shooting one of our TV shows, an episode of GUNTALK television with folks from Black Hills. showing some ammo, going out to the range, having some fun. Yeah, I know. You feel for me. You feel my pain, don't you? Hey, in just a second, I want to talk about this story that broke of the CNN anchor and her husband getting into a gunfight with a bad guy and who came out on top. But first, let me talk with Chuck on line 3. He's in Dallas, Texas. Hello, Chuck. I saw this in the news. I am so glad you called about it.
Yeah, it seems very disturbing where people are going to be carrying their iPhones, but it's like they've got a mini 1911.
Yeah, they got a cell phone holder or holster or something that you stick in your pocket, and it looks like the grip of a Glock or a 1911 or pistol. And so when your phone rings or when you use your phone, you reach down and grab the grip of your pistol and bring it out like you're drawing it, but it's a cell phone. And you're looking at that and thinking, okay, is there no one who is looking at this and thinking of the possible bad what-ifs here?
I know the police officer on Fox in Denver said that Amazon has already canceled any selling of this item.
Well, that's probably wise. I can't imagine any adult doing it, although, we see people are just dumb as a bag of rocks. And if a teenager had it, a parent should grab that thing and throw it in the trash, in the shredder or whatever to get rid of it. I mean, for those who aren't quite getting what we're talking about, if it looks like you have a pistol sticking out of your back pocket and you reach for it and grab it and pull it out, who knows what's going to happen? It's not a gun, but a police officer around there, somebody else could say, oh, wow, they're going for a gun. It just it's beyond nuts is what it is.
Yeah, that's what they were saying on TV, and I totally agree.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Chuck. Thank you for giving me a chance to weigh in on that one. All right, you probably heard the story. Former CNN anchor Lynn Russell and her husband were doing a across-the-country tour. I think they're doing a Route 66 deal. They stop in Albuquerque, go to the Motel 6. Lynn Russell is an attractive, tall woman. She goes out to the car for something. As she's coming back in, she's like at her door, and it's one of those push-in robberies. The guy comes right behind her, hits her in the back, throws her into the room. She goes flying onto the bed. Her husband, and this is where it gets very interesting, Chuck DeCaro, is in the shower. He comes out. What's going on? This guy's got a gun pointing at him. And this is where it gets really interesting. As my good friend Masada Ayub puts it, this was an acute failure in the victim selection process. Lynn Russell, when she's not anchoring CNN, does high-risk bodyguard work, VIP protection work. She is a black belt in more than one type of martial art. A good friend of mine who knows her well says she can outshoot almost anybody we know, including some of our professional shooter friends. Chuck DeCaro was Special Forces and has been a lot of interesting places, done some interesting things. I have stories, but I'm not allowed to talk to you about it because of where they happened and things. So, bad guy has gun. Lynn Russell, the account that I read, is that being smart and sharp doesn't make an immediate move. The guy's got a gun on him. She goes over, she says, first DeCaro, her husband, comes out. There are 2 handguns on the nightstand. Bad guy doesn't see him. So DeCaro comes out, stands where he can block the view of the bad guy. He can't see these guns. Lynn Russell comes around, gets behind him, she says, let me get my purse. Let me give it some money. Picks up the purse, puts one of the guns in the purse, and then turns around and hands the purse to her husband and says, maybe there's something in here that you could give him. He said, I think possibly there is. And almost immediately a gunfight breaks out. Her husband, DeCaro, was shot 3 times but survived. He shot and killed the bad guy. Being prepared, being alert, having a plan, keeping your wits about you, being competent. As Clint Smith used to say, if you get shot, it doesn't mean you're going to die, it just means you're in a good fight. Keep fighting. Get yourself on the other side of it. Wow. Oh, yeah. You know what you also have to do? You have to have a gun, and it has to be close, and you have to be able to get your hands on it when you're traveling, when you're in the motel room. Let's talk about it. All right, back with you. 866 Talk Gun gets you in here. Line 3, Rodney's with us out of Omaha, Nebraska. Hello, Rodney. What's on your mind?
Hi, I had two quick things. One, I was looking for a muzzle brake for my, I've got a Remington 700 5R with a factory threaded barrel and 300 Winchester Magnum. And as I get older, I can't handle the recoil as much as I used to. And I was looking at I don't know the correct pronunciation, the BAIS ones. Are those fairly decent?
I think so. I think they all work. Personally, I'm not much of a fan of muzzle brakes, but that's just me. Let me back up. You got a 300 Win Mag. What do you do with it?
I just target shoot. Sometimes I bought that originally for F-Class, but I end up liking my 260 a lot better. But, I just
Exactly. That's my point. Now, the 260 and sell that loud, recoiling beast of yours to somebody else, or maybe somebody you don't like. Now, I'm only halfway kidding with you. Okay, look, muzzle brakes work. And if you're going to be shooting off the bench, you're going to be shooting it in competition where you got lots of muzzle or hearing protection, yeah, it's fine. They're just loud. Everybody that says, oh, yeah, but my design isn't loud. Baloney. They're all loud. It's the nature of the beast. And I would never, ever, ever hunt with one if I couldn't wear hearing protection while I was shooting it. But if you're just shooting it for F-Class and all, yeah, I'm sure that's a fine muzzle brake. The one thing is you're already set up for that. You can make sure you can take it off and then screw the thread protectors back on if you want to shoot without the brake. And know that you're going to get probably going to get an impact shift, a point of impact shift when you go from the brake to no muzzle brake, okay? But I'm with you, man. I'd go shoot the 260. It's sweet, doesn't kick a lot, shoots flat, use good bullets, have fun.
Okay. The other thing...
You also had a book review.
Yes, I was going to recommend, if people like kind of a mixture between guns fighting and kind of a dark fantasy, would be Larry Correa's Monster Hunters International series. Apparently he was a 3-gun competitor before he started writing, and he had a gun shop, and his knowledge of firearms really comes through to the books, and it's about a group of private military contractors, I should say, that work for the government to take care of werewolves and vampires. It's kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, it's a fun read.
I love it. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's fun. Okay, that sounds like a good summer system or a project to get going on. Okay, we'll go read some ridiculous but fun things. So, hey, Rodney, I appreciate the recommendation. I had not heard of that series, Monster Hunters International. So we're using cool guns to shoot vampires and werewolves and things. All right, well, what the heck? I don't, nothing wrong with that. If you're reading, that's a good thing. Simple as that. Let's see. Real quick, let's get to Tom on line 2. He's in Minnesota. Got about a minute for you, Tom. Dive in.
Hey, Tom. I mentioned to Michelle that the CNN anchor would be a great one for first-person defender, and have them come on and do that exact scenario themselves, and show what they did and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other question I had was, I have a brother-in-law that has a Smith & Wesson 40 cal. I'm not sure what model it is, but it produces a dimple off of the feed ramp. Kind of a half-moon shape projection out of the cartridge. When it ejects fine, it doesn't jam up or anything like that. It feeds fine, but it leaves that dimple. And I'm wondering, is there any issue with pressure that I have to be worried about, and whether or not that cartridge would reload well or not?
Could be an issue. Do you know are they factory loads that he's shooting, or reloads?
Yes.
The factory loads. Okay. Probably. I would take a look at the cases and see how much of a bulge. It's kind of hard for me to know right now what we're talking about, if it's a big deal. If they resize okay, I probably would go ahead and reload them and use them. It wouldn't be a problem. And, of course, it depends on the model of the gun, too. But some 40s have been known to do that. Glocks are particularly known for that. But there you go. Hey, when we come back, we got more gun talk.